The story of humanity begins in silence. A world locked in ice.
Glaciers buried forests, mountains, and valleys beneath miles of ice, pressing down the ancient earth. Wild winds howled across the pale blue horizon, carrying the bitter chill of a world not yet ready for civilization. Small groups of hunters and gatherers wandered this frozen land, the last survivors of a long Paleolithic age. They followed migrating herds, reindeer, mammoths, and gazelle, living by skill and instinct in a relentless world.
Their homes were simple, branches and hides, their tools made from bone and stone crafted with skill.
Around 21,000 BC, the last great ice age gripped Earth with global temperatures 20 degrees colder than today. Northern Europe and North America lay buried beneath glaciers 3 kilometers thick, reshaping the land.
Lower sea levels exposed vast plains now submerged, linking lands and allowing migration routes.
Doggerland connected Britain to Europe, while Beringia joined Siberia to Alaska, opening paths for human migration.
Southeast Asia formed the immense continent of Sundaland, where islands stood united as lush green.
In this harsher, smaller world, deserts expanded, forests shrank.
Yet anatomically modern humans spread across continents, adapting with intelligence and skill.
Around 40,000 years ago, craftsmanship took a leap, producing fine flint blades, scrapers, and bone needles.
Tailored clothing emerged from bone needles, while basketry and woven fibers controlled daily materials.
In European caves, under flickering torchlight, human imagination bloomed in vivid animal paintings.
These paintings told stories, attempts to understand nature, life, and death in an uncertain world.
In the Levant, artisans carved the first small sculptures, symbols of fertility and birth.
People adorned themselves with shells, ivory, and animal teeth, expressing pride and perhaps belief.
Around 18,000 BC, the ice slowly began to melt as glaciers retreated and temperatures rose.
Life returned to the land, but nature resisted, pushing back with fluctuating cold periods. Around 11,000 BC, the Younger Dryas cold spell froze the Earth once more, testing human resilience.
Humans adapted to this harsh lesson, learning to hunt differently and gather plants carefully.
The shifting climate taught humans that survival depended on mastering nature itself.
In the Near East's fertile lands, small communities began experimenting with wild barley, wheat, and lentils.
Ohalo de Suken, on the Sea of Galilee's shore, reveals a remarkable glimpse of early human settlement.
Around 20,000 years ago, small groups built huts from branches and reeds, carefully arranged by the water.
Beneath layers of ash and mud, their lives were preserved. Seeds, bones, tools, and even grass bedding.
Fire consumed the village, rising waters buried it, sealing its memory beneath the lake.
Look at the detail on the rim here.
Yes, that confirms the late Bronze Age period. I'll document it now.
Lift it up, plant it deep.
Food we sow, home we keep.
Look how many we caught today.
Yes, enough for everyone.
Some tools had polished edges, like stone sickles, perfect for cutting grass and grains. These tools mark early steps toward farming, though they did not yet know it. Ohalo II reveals humanity's first lessons. We were learning to stay still,
to settle. Other camps arose, Kharane Fourth, Nahal Hadera, and signs of longer occupation appeared. Something far greater than crops was taking root, the transformation of society itself.
Who led the first farmers to turn wilderness into home? How did they tame wild grains and beasts?
Around 9600 BC, the Younger Dryas ended abruptly, bringing warmer climate and abundant life.
Descendants of the Natufians settled, building circular homes near rivers using mud, reeds, and stone.
They were experimenters, gathering, planting, and beginning to understand that food could be grown.
Domestication started slowly, as humans saved seeds from the best plants for future crops.
Similarly, hunters began corralling goats and sheep, favoring those that were calmer and friendlier. On the Euphrates in northern Syria, Jerf el-Ahmari's mud brick homes stood side by side. Here, a large circular building held barley and lentils, proof of stored harvests and cooperation. This building symbolized community survival, sharing resources for the harsh seasons ahead.
Rituals and offerings were part of life, uniting people under shared beliefs and traditions. Storytelling, gods, and ancestors became symbols binding communities and watching over fields.
Far south, by a spring-fed oasis in the Jordan Valley, Jericho began as a small settlement. Within centuries, Jericho grew, erecting a massive stone wall 5 meters tall and thick. At Jericho's heart rose a mysterious 7-meter stone tower with a spiral staircase inside.
Some see this as defense against enemies, but its true purpose remains debated today.
The Tower of Jericho stood tall, guarding against seasonal floods and marking the boundary between human and divine.
Its alignment with the horizon suggests it tracked the setting sun, serving as a prehistoric calendar.
Angle the chisel slightly lower on that edge, and we need a tighter fit right here. Understood. That should lock it right into place.
It looks much better.
Meanwhile, far north in Anatolia, Göbekli Tepe rose, a mysterious place built by hunter-gatherers. Massive pillars over 5 meters high were carved with fierce animals, symbols of power and mystery.
Building these monuments took planning and cooperation far beyond what hunter-gatherers usually needed.
Despite no full farming yet, people gathered seasonally here for rituals and community feasting.
Göbekli Tepe was more than a temple. It shaped society by creating shared belief and culture. Large feasts left behind revealed bones of wild animals and evidence of early brewing.
These feasts strengthened bonds between distant groups, creating community on an unprecedented scale.
Together, Göbekli Tepe, Jerf el-Ahmar, and Jericho mark humanity's first experiments in organized life.
And so the Great Spirit blessed our harvest this year.
Well done! Keep going!
By the 9th millennium BC, farming spread, with more permanent villages and innovations in animal care.
With food surpluses, populations grew, and social structures shifted toward hierarchy and inequality.
The bonds uniting these early communities were tested by ambition, power, and wealth.
Humanity had entered a new chapter. Hunters and gatherers gave way to farmers and builders.
Across the Fertile Crescent, fields of barley shimmered, goats grazed, and children's voices filled stone courtyards.
Villages once simple and cooperative now faced new challenges as populations slowly grew and changed their daily lives.
The ancestral land.
The ancestral lands must remain untouched.
But the modernization project requires expansion. We can't ignore the offer.
We must.
By 8500 BC, farming villages across the Near East shared the planting.
As populations swelled, decision-making shifted from councils to emerging leaders marked by wealth and status. In southeastern Turkey, Çayönü and Nevaliçori show early plant settlements with communal buildings and ritual spaces.
At Çayönü, human skulls placed beneath floors suggest a deep connection between the living and their ancestors.
Nearby Nevaliçori features carved pillars adorned with animal symbols, echoing older spiritual traditions.
Hiya hey, hiya ho, spirits of the land, watch us grow.
Over time, villages grew and trade began, linking regions through obsidian, salt. Trade brought wealth, and with wealth came inequalities. Some families now controlled more land and resources. Alongside material wealth, spiritual practices deepened with ancestral worship, linking past and present. These plastered and painted skulls acted as symbols of identity and family lineages, uniting communities. By 7500 BC, farming spread rapidly from the Near East into Anatolia.
Innovations like irrigation in Mesopotamia and terraced farming in highlands fueled population growth steadily.
Villages grew from hundreds to thousands, marking a new scale for human society and settlement organization.
By 7400 BC, Çatalhöyük rose as a marvel of urban living, with tightly packed mud brick homes and no streets.
Homes featured roof entrances, simple interiors with hearths, and platforms for daily living activities.
Bull skulls adorned walls, symbolized strength and fertility, central themes of community beliefs.
Çatalhöyük was more than a village. It was a living organism, and one of the largest of its time. Communities could house 5,000 to 8,000 people, with no single temple or palace in sight.
Careful with the seasoning, Grandpa.
Don't you worry, this is perfect.
This was humanity's first urban experiment, a city without kings, wealth, or war. But growth brought challenges: disease, waste, conflicts, and risks tied to farming stability.
We must consider the future of our harvest. The rains have been good.
He speaks the truth.
Perhaps we allocate a portion for the lean season immediately.
Spiritual leaders likely became practical leaders, managing irrigation, disputes, and resources. Chief emerged, respected for wisdom and consensus, embodying community stability.
By working together, our village will continue to thrive and grow strong.
With stability came innovation. Pottery stored food, spinning made cloth, and the plow improved farming.
Art evolved too. Figurines of powerful women symbolized fertility, life, and earth.
Though no armies or laws existed, foundations of agriculture, leadership, and belief were set.
Each village reflected future civilizations, like Sumer and Egypt, laying civilization's groundwork. By the 7th millennium BC, humans had tamed land, formed communities, and named the gods.
Trade stretched across mountains and rivers, linking cultures and igniting competition.
In Mesopotamia, between Tigris and Euphrates, a revolution was about to begin.
The land between rivers was both dangerous and fertile, shaped by seasonal floods.
Mountains to the north fed rivers. Southern plains became marshes and floodplains.
Mesopotamia was where humans first built cities, transforming villages into true urban centers.
By 6000 BC, farming had spread across the Fertile Crescent, from Anatolia to the Gulf.
The southern Mesopotamian plains remained tough, too dry in summer, too flooded in spring.
Around 5300 BC, farmers began canal building, creating fertile fields through irrigation.
Surplus created society, laying the foundation for cities, trade, and governance. At the river's edge stood Eridu, a small settlement that would become legendary. Its first inhabitants farmed barley, fished marshes, and raised goats on nearby hills. As generations passed, Eridu grew, and permanence became a powerful new idea.
At the center stood a temple to Enki, god of water and wisdom, rebuilt many times.
What began as a simple mud brick shrine grew into a massive platform, Alvium, the prototype of the ziggurat.
This temple was the heart of Eridu, where religion and administration merged into early government.
Inspired by Eridu's success, cities like Ur, Uruk, and Lagash grew, each with its own temple and god.
Temples served as storehouse, granary, registry, and courtroom, with priests overseeing all city affairs.
As cities expanded, canals were built, fields grew, and the need for organized administration emerged.
To manage complexity, the first bureaucracy and written records appeared, starting as simple bookkeeping.
By 3300 BC in Uruk, these symbols evolved into cuneiform, a system of wedge-shaped marks.
With writing, trade deals, laws, and myths were recorded, preserving ideas across generations. By 3200 BC, Uruk was a metropolis of 40,000, with temples and terraces rising above the plains.
At Uruk's center stood the Anu Ziggurat and Eanna precinct, devoted to Anu and Inanna.
These structures symbolized heavens above and earth below Behance, forces shaping human life. Within Uruk, specialists thrived: potters, metalworker, merchants, and priests supporting the city.
Scribes meticulously recorded exchanges, turning Uruk into an efficient urban system. Sumer's wealth depended on agriculture from rivers and trade driven by scarcity of resources.
They traded grain and textiles for timber, stone, and metals from Anatolia and Lebanon.
Trade connected regions, turning cities into centers of influence, giving rise to new powers. Temple priests ruled early, but warrior kings called Lugals soon rose to lead and conquer. Lugals became lawgivers and builders, representing gods on earth and starting monarchies. Every sitial king claimed divine favor. Challenging him meant opposing the gods themselves.
You have been judged and found wanting. The sentence is final and will be carried out immediately. May the order prevail.
In large societies, written laws replaced tradition, establishing rules for property and justice.
These laws, older than Hammurabi's code, set principles still used in modern law today.
To the Sumerians, every element of the universe was alive, filled with divine spirits.
Humans were created to serve gods through farming, building, and temple upkeep for protection.
Each city worshipped its patron deity. Temples linked heaven and earth, spiritually and politically. Priests unified society, combining faith and power to justify authority and preserve order. The Sumerians told myths that explained their world, stories echoing through time. They spoke of a primordial sea where the world was born, and gods shaped humanity from clay. Floods were sent to cleanse the earth, and among their heroes stood Gilgamesh, king of Uruk. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality became the first great epic of human literature. Here on the Euphrates, civilization's foundations began. The first writing, cities, laws, and architecture. Sumerians invented the wheel, mapped stars, created calendars, and conceived the idea of zero. By 2300 BC, Sumerian city-states weakened amid rivalry, wars, and environmental decline. Kings of Uruk, Lagash, and Umma fought for dominance, draining people and fields dry. New powers arose. The Akkadians united Mesopotamia, followed by Babylonians and Assyrians.
Sumer faded, but its legacy lived on in every empire that followed.
Its myths formed religions, laws shaped governance, and writing evolved through millennia.
Sumer was humanity's first experiment, stepping beyond nature's control.
As Sumer declined, a new civilization stirred on Africa's Nile banks.
Egypt's river flooded annually, bringing life-give silt that transformed the land.
This predictable flood cycle shaped Egypt's religion, government, and daily life. The Egyptians called their land Kemet, the Black Land, for its fertile soil.
Beyond Kemet was Deshret, the red desert that acted as a natural barrier.
This geography allowed Egypt to flourish in isolation and peace, while others fought. Egypt's story begins with farming villages around 5000 BC along the Nile.
These villages merged over centuries, trading goods along the river, creating cultures.
By 3500 BC, Upper and Lower Egypt dominated the Nile Valley as rivals. They were united by the river, but divided by power and geography. Around 3100 BC, Narmer from Upper Egypt conquered Lower Egypt, uniting the lands.
He wore a double crown, white for Upper Egypt, red for Lower Egypt, symbolizing unity.
The crown of Lower Egypt was fused into one, symbolizing the unification immortalized on the Narmer palette. With this act, Egypt became the first true nation-state, uniting language, faith, and destiny under one ruler.
Narmer founded Memphis as capital, where Egypt grew stable, a kingdom where kings were gods and order was sacred.
Egyptians called their king Pharaoh, meaning great house, from which we get the word pharaoh.
The pharaoh was the living embodiment of Horus and son of Ra, responsible for maintaining Ma'at, balance and justice. All life in Egypt, floods, harvests, stars, revolved around Ma'at.
Under Pharaoh's command, fields were measured, canals maintained, and temples built in an organized society. This unity created a civilization lasting over 3 millennia, beginning with Egypt's Old Kingdom Golden Age.
King Djoser's step pyramid at Saqqara was the first monumental stone structure, designed by Imhotep.
Djoser's pyramid symbolized ascension. Death was transformation, and the spirit, or Ka, lived forever.
Later pharaohs built higher pyramids, perfecting design until the Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed by Khufu.
The Great Pyramid contained 2.3 million limestone blocks, each weighing up to 15 tons.
Next to it stood the pyramids of Khafre and Menkaure, aligned perfectly with stars in the night sky. The Great Sphinx guarded them, its lion's body and human face watching eternally over the desert.
These monuments were built not by slaves, but by skilled workers and farmers, repaying duty during floods.
Their labor was a national faith, uniting Egypt under a vision of immortality through order.
Beneath these grand monuments lived scribes, farmers, soldiers, and priests, forming society's sacred harmony.
Scribes kept knowledge in hieroglyphs, recording harvests, taxes, rituals, and kings' lives. Priests maintained temples, performed ceremonies to honor gods, and maintain cosmic balance. Egypt's greatness came from harmony, each role sacred in a society devoted to divine order.
No civilization valued life after death more than Egypt, believing the soul had many parts.
To survive death, the body was preserved through mummification, an iconic religious practice.
The body was wrapped, blessed with oils and spells, and buried with food, jewels, and amulets. Texts like the Book of the Dead guided souls through judgment before Osiris in the afterlife. Eternity was not a dream, but life perfected forever, sustained under the sun's eternal light. But divine order faltered as droughts weakened the Nile and the pharaoh's power declined around 2200 BC. Famine spread, faith in the pharaoh's divinity wavered, and Egypt's unity began to fracture. Nomarchs, regional rulers, grew stronger, acting as independent lords as central power weakened.
Thus, Egypt entered a period of instability, marking the end of its ancient golden age.
Egypt fell into chaos during the First Intermediate Period, fractured into warring states for over a century. Temples were abandoned, monuments looted, and the old order seemed lost in the dust of time.
Investitures. Around 2050 BC, Mentuhotep rose from the south to reunify Egypt and
This marked the start of the Middle Kingdom, a time of revival, reform, and balance in Egyptian life.
Pharaohs ruled humbly, seen as shepherds of their people rather than distant gods. Irrigation was rebuilt, trade reopened, and the arts flourished once more across Egypt's flourishing land.
Egypt expanded its borders. Trade and military expeditions reached Nubia, Sinai, and the Levant. For 4 centuries, Egypt prospered, a wiser, mature civilization based on harmony and balance. The Nile's floods set the rhythm of life, while deserts offered safety and gods gave purpose. No empire lasted longer or inspired deeper than Egypt, from temples to timeless beliefs.
The pyramids stand as silent witnesses to the power of kings and the power of belief. Yet beyond Egypt, change was stirring. New civilizations ready to challenge and reshape the old world.
In the east, great river civilizations formed along the Indus and Yangtze rivers, awakening a new era. In the west, bronze and iron forged new powers, while across the Mediterranean fresh sparks ignited. As Egypt built pyramids and Sumer wrote first words, other civilizations formed far beyond the Fertile Crescent.
Across Iran's mountains and Baluchistan's passes, rivers stirred new worlds in the Indus Valley.
Humanity built cities of order, beauty, and mystery with their own unique genius.
For centuries, this civilization was unknown. hidden beneath centuries of dust and time. In the 1920s, British archaeologists uncovered a lost world of streets, seals, and careful planning. At its height, between 2600 and 1900 BC, the Indus civilization spanned over 1 million square kilometers.
Its two greatest centers, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, were marvels of ancient urban design and order.
Mohenjo-Daro, beside the Indus River, was a city of straight lines, precise grids, and multi-story houses. Beneath the streets, an advanced drainage system carried wastewater away, Tati, centuries ahead of its time.
At the city's heart stood the Great Bath, a massive pool likely used for ritual purification.
Nearby, granaries stored vast grain supplies, showing careful management and shared prosperity.
Remarkably, no grand palaces, temples, or king's tombs were discovered. No evidence of monarchy.
Instead, the Indus civilization thrived on cooperation, trade, and civic organization.
We do not know their gods, names, or governance systems, only their values through architecture.
Unlike divine kings or warrior rulers, the Indus people built a society of balance and equality.
The Indus Valley was rich, producing cotton, beads, pottery, and bronze tools for local use and trade. Merchants traded widely with Mesopotamia, Oman, and Central Asia, forming long-distance networks.
Sumerian texts call them Melucha, traders from a distant, exotic, and prosperous land.
Indus ships carried ivory, gold, lapis lazuli, and spices, returning with silver and wool from the west. Harbors like Lothal show advanced engineering, docks, warehouses, and artificial channels.
The Indus Valley was not isolated. It connected continents long before writing began its story.
Seals show horned figures seated cross-legged, possibly early fertility gods or prototypes of Shiva.
Other seals display bulls, elephants, and mythical creatures, revealing a deep bond with nature. Small terracotta female figurines wear elaborate jewelry, hinting at a mother goddess cult.
Unlike grand temples elsewhere, Indus spirituality was intimate and woven into daily life. Around 1900 BC, the great Indus cities declined. Streets emptied, baths dried up, trade slowed.
Causes remain uncertain. River changes, climate shifts, or social troubles may have led to decline.
Collapse was gradual. People dispersed to villages, their culture evolving but never disappearing.
The Indus gave early cities, clean, efficient, and peaceful, without kings or obvious hierarchies.
Its legacy endured quietly, influencing later Indian cultures in spiritual and social life.
Far east, along the Wanghe River, early farmers cultivated millet and rice by 7000 BC. Villages like Banpo revealed early communal living with round houses and shared granaries.
By 3000 BC, cultures like Yangshao and Longshan mastered agriculture, weaving, and pottery.
Along Huanghe, the Xia dynasty arose, said to be founded by Yu the Great, a flood-taming hero. Yu's story, part legend, symbolizes how managing water meant sustaining life in ancient China.
Archaeology at Erlitou reveals the Xia as a Bronze Age culture with palaces and early writing.
The Shang dynasty rose by 1600 BC, ruling from fortified cities with palaces and temples.
Ancestor worship dominated Shang belief, communicating through oracle bones with cracks and symbols.
These oracle bones form the earliest Chinese writing, direct ancestors of characters used today.
Shang excelled in bronze work, creating vessels that blended art, technology, and ritual. The Zhou dynasty replaced Shang around 1046 BC, introducing the powerful Mandate of Heaven.
Mandate of Heaven meant rulers ruled by virtue. Corruption meant loss of divine favor.
This concept shaped Chinese dynasties for millennia, ensuring stability through cosmic balance.
While the West developed around Nile, Indus, and Tigris, East Asia formed distinct but parallel civilizations.
All these cultures met the same ancient challenge: taming rivers to build lasting civilizations.
From the Nile to the Wanghe, humanity had begun to master nature, creating lasting cities and stories.
Civilizations were no longer scattered. They connected, exchanging goods, ideas, and symbols across vast distances. The Bronze Age had begun, but even as civilizations thrived, change was swiftly approaching on the horizon. Metals would give way to empires. Trade would evolve into conquest, testing the dream of order and kings' ambitions. For thousands of years, humans lived by rivers, building, farming, worshipping, until the great cities sought to rule.
From Mesopotamia to Egypt, Anatolia to China, a new age dawned.
The story shifted from survival to power, starting in Mesopotamia with Sargon of Akkad's rise to empire. Once a cupbearer, Sargon seized power with cunning, uniting Sumerian cities into the Akkadian Empire.
From Akkad, his empire spanned from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean, ruled many peoples and gods.
Sargon's armies marched on well-built roads. His scribes used cuneiform, his bronze portrait immortalized.
He claimed the title King of the Four Quarters of the World, an empire dream that never truly died.
After Akkad came Babylon, inheriting Sumer's wisdom, with Hammurabi ruling around 1750 BC.
Hammurabi's legacy was law, carving customs into stone, the Code of Hammurabi, a pioneer in justice.
An eye for an eye, harsh then, but revolutionary. Justice must be written, not improvised.
Under Hammurabi, Babylon became Mesopotamia's jewel. Gardens, ziggurats, canals, symbolizing order over chaos. Babylon's laws echoed through millennia, influencing Assyria, Persia, Rome, and even modern law systems. While Mesopotamian empires rose and fell, Egypt was reborn, ushering in the new kingdom around 1550 BC. These pharaohs were warriors, expanding Egypt's reach into Nubia, Syria, and Palestine. Thutmose III led 17 victorious campaigns, transforming Egypt into a formidable empire. Amenhotep III ruled during wealth and peace, erecting temples and colossal statues like the Colossi of Memnon. Then came Akhenaten, the heretic king, who declared Aten as the sole god, challenging Egypt's old religion.
He moved the capital to Amarna, proclaiming a new faith based on light and truth.
His reign was revolutionary, possibly the world's first monotheism, but it proved disastrous for Egypt. After Akhenaten's death, his name was erased, monuments defaced, and his memory condemned. Yet his belief in one divine power echoed beyond, later influencing major monotheistic faiths. After Akhenaten, young Tutankhamun restored the old gods but ruled only briefly, dying before 20. His tomb, discovered in 1922 by Howard Carter, revealed Egypt's Golden Age splendor. While Egypt thrived, to the north, the Hittites rose in Anatolia, masters of the Bronze Age.
They built massive stone walls around Hattusa, adorned with lions and divine symbols.
The Hittites were first to harness iron, crafting stronger weapons that gave them a war advantage.
Around 1274 BC, King Muwatalli II met Egypt's Ramses at Kadesh. Neither side won outright, but the battle changed the ancient world's political landscape forever.
Two ancient empires signed a peace treaty, marking a shift from conquest to negotiation in human history.
But peace was brief. After the Hittite fall and Egypt's decline, a new power rose in northern Mesopotamia.
Syria's capital, Nineveh, became known for imposing walls, grand palaces, and vast libraries of cuneiform tablets. The Assyrians were fierce warriors, masters of siege tactics and military organization on a brutal scale. Kings like Tiglath-Pileser and Ashurbanipal carved their conquests into stone, immortalizing their profound victories. Yet Ashurbanipal's library preserved myths, laws, and texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh for future generations. From Assyria's fall rose Persia, an empire built on tolerance and respect for diverse cultures and faiths. Cyrus's empire stretched from Greece to India, the largest the world had seen by the 6th century BC. Unlike earlier rulers, Cyrus allowed conquered peoples to keep their customs, languages, and religions. He freed the Jews from Babylonian captivity, rebuilding their temple in Jerusalem as an act of mercy. Centuries later, Alexander the Great would honor Cyrus's tomb, recognizing his legacy of tolerance and leadership. The Persians built impressive roads, postal systems, and palaces, linking their vast empire through management and might.
Their ruler held the title Shahanshah, King of Kings, symbolizing supreme authority over many lands.
While Persia ruled the West, China was fracturing as local lords vied for power in the Warring States period. This era of conflict bred military innovations like iron weapons, crossbows, and larger armies led by strategists. Amid the chaos, thinkers sought answers. Confucius taught harmony through virtue, respect, and moral leadership. His philosophy became the foundation of Chinese society, guiding millennia of culture and governance.
Meanwhile, across the Aegean Sea, small city-states were rising from the Bronze Age collapse's shadow. Although not yet empires, Greek city-states like Athens and Sparta grew in power and influence.
His philosophy became the foundation of Chinese society, guiding millennia of culture and governance.
Meanwhile, across the Aegean Sea, small city-states were rising from the Bronze Age collapse's shadow.
Although not yet empires, Greek city-states like Athens and Sparta grew in power and influence. They shared language, gods, and introduced the polis, citizen-run city-states shaping their own futures.
Here, democracy was born, and myths of gods and heroes like Zeus and Achilles took root. By the millennium's end, the world had changed. Empires rose and fell, each leaving lasting legacies.
From unification to law, grandeur to mercy, every empire added layers to human civilization's foundation.
Yet millions suffered, laboring, fighting, and passing on to build these monumental kingdoms.
Yet from these struggles came something greater: memory, wisdom, and lessons that still shape us today.
But this was just the beginning. The Age of Empires set the stage for new powers to emerge. Greece would birth democracy and philosophy. Rome would master empire. The East would cultivate innovation. War, trade, and ideas began uniting the ancient world into its first truly connected civilization. Great rivers like the Nile, Tigris, Indus, and Yellow still flowed, but humanity outgrew their banks.
Knowledge spread faster than ever through trade routes and exploration across continents.
Civilization reached a new height, not just in power, but in thought, art, and innovation.
This was the Classical Age, a golden era of heroes, philosophers, empires, and groundbreaking ideas.
For glory!
But consider the long-term impact on the populace.
We celebrate the new era.
It all began on the rocky coasts and scattered islands of the Aegean Sea, where ancient Greece's story took root.
In small Greek city-states, a revolution of the mind began, changing government and thought forever. Athens created democracy, where free citizens gathered to debate and vote on their own laws.
Reason replaced kings and priests, sparking philosophy, the pursuit of truth by logic and observation.
Plato imagined perfect justice and an ideal state, while Aristotle studied nature's order.
Their groundbreaking ideas laid foundations for Western thought, science, and ethics across centuries.
Each polis was unique. Sparta shaped warriors. Athens shaped thinkers with freedom and discipline. Their rivalry defined Greece's destiny, each valuing different ideals, preparing for future conflict. In 480 BC, the Persian invasion united Greek city-states in defense of their freedom. At Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis, Greeks defeated the vast Persian army against all odds.
Arete, excellence in all things, became the Greek ideal, the standard of a life worth living.
After the wars, Athens bloomed under Pericles as a beacon of art, architecture, and democracy.
The Parthenon stood as a temple to Athena and human achievement in art and ideas.
Playwrights like Sophocles and Euripides explored human emotion through theatre's tragedy and comedy.
Athens became not just a city, but a vision of self-governance and creation without divine command.
But golden ages fade. Rivalry with Sparta grew bitter, leading to the destructive Peloponnesian War.
For almost 30 years, Greece was torn apart. Cities burned, alliances broken, thousands perished.
Sparta won, but their victory left Greece vulnerable, divided, and ideals shattered. From the ruins rose Alexander of Macedon, a young king destined to unite and conquer.
Tutored by Aristotle, Alexander combined intellect with ambition to avenge Greece's enemies.
By 334 BC, Alexander set out, creating an empire stretching from Greece to India.
He spread Greek language, art, and culture, blending East and West into a new world.
Alexander died young at 32. His empire collapsed, but his legacy united cultures forever.
While Greece waned, a new power rose in the West, the city of Rome on the Tiber River. Rome started as a republic, governed by elected senators and strict laws. Romans valued discipline, duty, and loyalty, building a strong, organized society.
Through war and diplomacy, Rome conquered Italy, Carthage, and the Mediterranean. Roman engineering excelled. Roads spanned continents. Aqueducts carried water miles.
As Rome grew, power shifted to generals and elites, ending the Republic's reign.
Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul made him a hero or a threat to the Senate.
When ordered to disband, he crossed the Rubicon, igniting civil war and ending the Republic. Caesar became dictator for life, ruling with vision until his assassination in 44 BC.
With Caesar's death, the Roman Republic's dream ended, replaced by empire. Octavian, Caesar's heir, restored stability as Rome's first emperor, Augustus, the Princeps.
Under Augustus, Rome entered the Pax Romana, a peaceful, prosperous 2 centuries.
Rome connected lands with roads, laws, and culture, spreading Latin and citizenship.
Baths,
Theaters and arenas filled cities where trade and ideas flourished freely. Rome achieved continental unity, unmatched before in human history.
Though Rome built with stone, Greek philosophy shaped the empire's mind and spirit.
Philosophy evolved into Stoicism, teaching virtue and self-control amid chaos.
Epicureanism taught peace through balance, while science thrived with thinkers like Ptolemy, Galen, and Euclid shaping knowledge.
In Alexandria, the Great Library stood as a beacon, holding hundreds of thousands of scrolls from every part of the world.
For a brief time, humanity seemed to master understanding itself, conquering knowledge alongside lands and empires.
But even as reason grew, the soul sought meaning beyond power, leading to new faiths across the ancient world. In Roman Judea, Jesus preached compassion and forgiveness, his message spreading despite persecution across the empire. Across Asia, Hinduism grew from Vedic roots and Buddhism spread, offering enlightenment as a new spiritual path. In China, Confucianism and Taoism flourished, balancing ethics and nature in a philosophy of harmony and respect. From all corners of the ancient world, faiths rose, uniting people through shared belief rather than empire or heritage. But every empire carries the seeds of decline, and Rome faced corruption, civil war, and relentless barbarian invasions. By the 5th century AD, the Western Roman Empire fell, its cities sacked and legions broken on the battlefield. Though Rome fell, its legacy endured through law, language, architecture, and the enduring power of faith. Civilization transformed, passing its torch to Byzantium, Islam, and eventually medieval Europe's kingdoms. The classical age gave the world democracy, law, philosophy, architecture.
Athens stones, Alexandria scrolls, Rome's roads, all part of a legacy of human resilience and hope.
Ancient civilizations built the first global society, and though empires faded, their ideas grew immortal.
From fire's first spark to sprawling cities,
Each generation inherits the dreams and lessons of those before. Children of Sumer, Egypt, Indus, China, Greece, and Rome.
It looks wonderful. You two did amazing work.
We learned so much from your guidance. It was a true collaboration.
Look, it's beautiful.
A new day for everyone.